atmosphere last week. I was at an alien show, and I was visiting with a lot of aliens. And there were horses, actually. I thought that might be funny. I was competing at a world championship in Kentucky, in Louisville, up until last night, actually, and then flew in this morning. My eyes are all red from the dust. And I had a class that I was competing in. Those trotting horses that you see on trotting races. We have a class. Those horses are called standardbreds, and these fast-trotting standardbreds in a small oval, like the skating rink oval, and maybe 9 or 10 of us in it, trying to be fast and stylish. And there's one horse that beats me all the time, Mr. Bones. Mr. Bones beats me all the time, and I'm with a legendary trainer, Raymond Shively. He's a Hall of Fame trainer, and we've got this horse, Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt! And he's always behind Mr. Bones. So last night, and so the Hall of Fame trainer has been training this Thunderbolt, and he's a great horse. I'm always coming in second. And he thinks we can catch Mr. Bones in style and in speed, but it's up to me as well. And in this small oval, they wet it down every night for dust, which is the very thing that got into my eyes. And so what's happened in that ring is it's slick at both ends. And actually, on the qualifying class earlier in the week, a horse spread eagled. It was so slippery. That's bad, because if the horse falls, you're tied to a sulky. And if the horse falls, the sulky falls. And since I'm in the sulky, I'll fall. This is not a good situation when you're going 30, 40 miles an hour with other horses pounding down behind you. So last night, I was good. This sulky is as a place to place your feet. You're seated like this, and you've got the reins like this. And I used to race motorcycles in the dirt, so that you're pushing like this in the dirt on the pegs. And that's the same thing that I was doing. I don't know who else in that race had driven motorcycles, but I was pushing with my feet, and this cloud of sawdust was coming out of the wheels as Thunderbolt went down, and at the end, I was down at the race was over, and we were waiting for the results, and Raymond Shively, the legendary trainer, said, I think we got him, Bill. I think we got him. Woo-wee, Bill. And they made the announcement. And world champion, Mr. Bones. Yes, Bill. Well, so that's been my adventure this past week, working with those aliens. I was supposed to come here with I directed a new film called The Captains. It's been playing on a cable called Epix, and that reaches 70 million people somewhere, but maybe not in Toronto. So it's around, and it'll come out as a DVD. It's gotten great notices, and it's the kind of film you will love. It's a documentary on the actors who played the captains of Star Trek. And I went around the world, really, to visit with them and talk to them, and I established traits that the captains have, adventures that happen to them all, and things that they have in common, and things that are disparate. And it turned out to be a beautiful documentary that I'm terribly proud of, and somebody's gotten great notices and a lot of attention, and I know you'll love it. Find it. It's called The Captains, and it's about all the actors in Star Trek. Having had success with that, the same company asked me to do another documentary. And so a couple of weeks ago, just prior to the World Championships in Louisville, I was in Las Vegas shooting another documentary. And I want to ask your advice. Let me tell you what it's about, then I want to ask your advice. I'm calling it right now Fan Addicts. And it's about the people who come to these conventions and who they are and what they are, what they want, and what they're after. Now, I wrote a book some years ago called Get a Life. And we all had fun with that. Because in the book, I went and discovered who some of you are and wrote about them. I wrote about a kid who was abnormally shy. He couldn't speak, except when he had his cat dressed up as Captain Kirk. Now, you know, it's funny, and yet how meaningful that is. He overcame his shyness by being able to show his cat and say, you know, say meow like Captain Kirk or something. You know, I mean, whatever he was doing made him brave enough to be social, and he began to overcome his shyness by having that. I interviewed a girl who had multiple personalities, all of them from Star Trek. It was the most amazing thing. So these voices would come out of her. Now, whether she was faking or not, I don't know. She was very good, and I flew to Dallas to interview her and got her story for the book. So I was aware, and when I wrote Get a Life, that the people who come to conventions are here not just really to see people like me, the celebrities, but to see each other. And to participate in this is too narrow to walk up and down, I want to fall off the stage. Which will be amusing once, but then it doesn't lead itself to multiple, I can't do this more than once. So I'm going to stay right here. So I'm aware of why most of you are here, because I wrote this book. What I didn't know, and what I discovered 2 weeks ago, shooting at the big Star Trek, the biggest Star Trek convention ever. 20,000 people attended it, and I was running around shooting personal stories and events and people and trying to find a story. The most amazing thing about doing a documentary is, in some cases, at least in the cases of the documentaries I have shot, there's another one called Gonzo Ballet, where a ballet company does a ballet of songs I wrote and how they did it and what they did. So it's, again, something that is available. Think about it, it's really funny and really interesting. But what I'm discovering is that in making a documentary, you don't know what it's about when you begin. And with the Captains, I didn't know quite what I was doing. I'd flown to England on Canadian manufactured light airplane or corporation jet from Bombardier. Bombardier lent me a jet. Great company. The CEO lent me the plane, the budget for which would have cost more than our whole budget for the movie, because he became an aeronautical engineer because of Star Trek. And so, as a direct result of him, I was able to make this movie, The Captains. But I didn't know quite what The Captains was about until I was halfway through it, when I began to realize the things I was looking for were becoming apparent. And not only that I had an epiphany about my own attitude towards Captain Kirk in Star Trek, which maybe I won't tell you about. You have to go see the movie, but I had a huge understanding as a result of talking to all the captains. And that became the arc of the movie, and I didn't understand it. So here I am shooting Fanatics, and I'm getting a deeper insight into what you're doing here. And what you are doing here, and most of you may not know this. I know what you're doing here, and you don't. How about that? No, you know on some level what you're doing here. What you're doing here is participating in a cultural myth, and you are part of the cultural myth. You are a part of this culture, and it is mythological in nature, and you participate by getting autographs and dressing up as part of the ritual of this myth. Becomes more and more apparent in this new documentary, which at the moment is called Fanatics. And this is where I want to ask your advice. Somebody said, why don't you call it Get a Life? And I said, well, that sounds vaguely detrimental. It sounds, I have found that the people who come to the conventions are beautiful. I mean, everybody's beautiful, but some are more beautiful than others. And there was a kid, for example, in a wheelchair, and I saw him out of the corner of my eye at one point, and all he could do was blow into this thing to conduct his wheelchair. And he was whizzing by on his way to one event after another. So I had him whizzing by this brave young man who's dying and would prefer to be amongst us than be alone. It was extraordinary. I met a college professor talking about the Joseph Campbell mythology that I'm trying to relate to. So, here's what I want to do with applause. Do you think I should name this Fanatics, or should I name it Get a Life? Because it is not disparaging. The documentary will not be disparaging, but on the contrary, it will be laudatory to all of us who come to conventions, because we're participating in something that pleases all of us, and we're not nuts. So, I'm going to change, if we change it, based on your applause. Should this be Fanatics, or should this be Get a Life? What do you think about Fanatics? Some of you didn't stop clapping the moment I did. Or should this be Get a Life? Pretty close, but I think Fanatics has it. Okay. You've given me a strong suggestion, and I will take that up. Now, I will call it Fanatics unless the people who are going to exhibit it insist on Get a Life. But know that I'm there with you all, and it'll be a wonderful film about people who go to conventions. All right, so that's, oh, and by the way, The Captains is going to be playing at theaters in a few weeks, 70 theaters around Canada, so look for it. I think you'll enjoy it. So that's Captains, and